papers, a sea of determined souls, impassioned air, kind eyes. I look out and see slogans, some that I've seen as soon as my eyes could see, heard as soon as my ears could hear. Free Tibet!
Free Tibet!
Stop the genocide in Tibet!
Stop the genocide in Tibet!
I look out and I see some that have grown more and more familiar upon my tongue in recent years. Free Hong Kong!
Free Hong Kong!
Free East Turkestan!
Free East Turkestan!
Keep Taiwan free!
Keep Taiwan free!
But, and sweetest of them all, I open my heart and I lean in, and among the din and roar of these crashing waves, there are some I hear coursing through the air for the very first time. Buzio Wuning Su! Xi Jinping Shatai! What you hear, this that you hear, this is a tidal change. And as unimaginable as it may seem, like oceans rise inevitably, so too do empires fall. Starting in 1949, Tibet was colonized, brutalized by the CCP as they pursued their imperial aims of territorial conquest and resource extraction. That was my grandparents' generation. They fought to survive the howling, icy winds, whipping as they crossed barefooted the Himalayas to seek refuge in Nepal or India as the People's Liberation Army, hot on their heels, sought to stain the white snow of our sacred mountains red with our blood. My parents' generation fought to make a new life for themselves, born in destitution, scattered, stateless in refugee camps, with no nation willing to claim them as their own. How lucky we are. In my throat, the freedom of speech. In my heart, the freedom of expression. In my mind, the freedom of thought. We can do what our ancestors could only dream of. And for that very reason, it is our duty to do so. Former U.S. Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis once referred to the individual states of America as laboratories of democracy. Since the occupation of 1959, the CCP has used Tibet as a laboratory of oppression. It could not be clearer. Chen Quanguo, the former Communist Party Secretary of the Tibet Autonomous Region, who oversaw the forced collection of Tibetan DNA samples, the abduction of our children into colonial boarding schools, was brought in 2016 to East Turkestan to use his experience oppressing generations of Tibetans to wreak genocide against the Uyghur people in their own homelands. Like they burned the mosques, they too set our monasteries ablaze. Like they forced Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps to eat pork and drink alcohol, they too forced at gunpoint our monks and nuns to have sex in the streets. The CCP looted our ancient shrines, shattered our holy objects, and melted down our sacred statues to murder 1 million Tibetans with bullets made from our own gods. The CCP named us Tibet Autonomous Region, Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. But the youth of Hong Kong can tell you what it truly means to live with genuine autonomy under the CCP. Because when stun grenades shattered the eardrums of students at Hong Kong Polytechnic University in 2019, so too was shattered the sickly porcelain pledge of genuine autonomy under the CCP. The actions of the CCP over the past 75 years against Tibetans, Uyghurs, Hong Kongers, Taiwanese, Mongolians, and now against the Chinese people themselves have provided irrefutable proof that genuine autonomy, the respect of fundamental human rights, is wholly incompatible with the existence of the CCP, and that the guarantee of these inalienable rights is only possible when the CCP no longer exists upon this earth. I think often about our martyrs, those who came before us, those Tibetans who lit themselves on fire in self-immolation because they believed that their bodies would be a better use to the pursuit of freedom in death than in life. Those Chinese students in 1989 who occupied Tiananmen Square until the CCP ordered tanks to to run over their mangled bodies so many times that their remains were fine enough to be washed down the sewers with fire hoses. Those Uyghur families who, last week, already shattered by the internment of fathers, brothers, sisters, and mothers, burned in that apartment building, while the CCP shrank behind the callous excuses of zero COVID policies. But this week, for the first time, I thought about how, as those martyrs gasped for their final breaths, they could have never imagined how today their lives breathe oxygen into a coalition, a constellation of all those people colonized, oppressed by the CCP, fueled by the stories and the memories, the synchronized rising and falling of their chests, of our martyrs, that culminates in this movement. Today, we realize that our martyrs are all quilted side by side in this tessellated tapestry of collective history. Today, we realize that this is a struggle in solidarity toward our collective liberation. We have endured far too much to lay idly by. For none of us are truly free until we all are. None of us are truly free until the CCP falls. Because it is with the invincible breath of truth given to us by all of those who have come before and all of those who are around us now that we stand and sit shoulder to shoulder to fight for our freedom. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Papa, for those incredibly powerful words and reminding us of the importance of using our privilege for those who do not have the same freedoms, the freedoms we cherish so much. Thank you. Now we will be moving on to Elfidar from Uyghur American Association.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone. Someone was asking what happened to your feet. I said that's nothing. My heart has been bleeding for years. And we all have that. Today we're here standing together in solidarity to tell the world that we will not stop until we all are free. We all have at least one thing in common, and that is we've been oppressed by Chinese Communist Party. And at least we have one common goal, and that is end the occupation and get our freedom. Yeah! I would like to talk about what's going on in my homeland recently. Uyghur Americans in the diaspora are mourning with heavy pain for the loss of lives in the Urumqi fire on November 24, 2022. In these darkest days in the history of Uyghurs, the diaspora in Washington, D.C., New York, Boston, and Los Angeles, and all around the world, held protests against the CCP's brutal COVID lockdowns that cost thousands of lives in the tragic fire and left many Uyghurs without food and medical care in the last 3 months, amid ongoing genocide that has already killed countless innocent Uyghurs. Many Uyghurs have been starving for more than 100 days, under the guise of COVID lockdown in East Turkestan. The CCP's COVID policy is responsible for the tragedy in Urumqi on November 24th, because Uyghurs in the building couldn't escape as their doors are sealed shut. Emergency exit door was locked and the streets were blocked, preventing fire trucks to get closer. The Chinese state media's typical cover-up of the tragedy by reducing the number of deaths to 10 and blaming it on the residents' inability. These angered us, angered all Uyghurs, angered all Chinese, angered all people that are oppressed by China, causing protests in the Uyghur region, across China, and also around the world. This tragedy comes on top of an ongoing genocide Uyghur people have been suffering from since at least 2016-17. Millions of Uyghurs have been detained, indoctrinated, and tortured in prisons, concentration camps, and forced labor camps. In the last 3 months, the government turned the remaining Uyghurs' own homes into prisons, locking them up and depriving them of food and medical care. We hope this tragedy marks the beginning of the end of the CCP's rule in East Turkestan, in Taiwan, in Hong Kong, in Tibet, in Inner Mongolia, and in China. As we mourn our family members who were burned alive in the Urumqi fire, we stand with the Uyghurs and Chinese and all our allies who called for Xi Jinping to step down and for liberation of China and our homeland. And we need to unite in our fight against the tyrannical communist regime with everyone who is defending their God-given rights and freedom until we all are free. The Americans implore the United States government and the government of the free world to hold the Chinese government accountable for its atrocities by imposing sanctions on the top Chinese officials responsible for loss of Uyghur lives and others, including the Xinjiang Communist Party's secretary, and pass a resolution at the United Nations condemning China's atrocities against Uyghur people. We would like to ask the leaders of the free world to meet with the numbers of the Uyghurs in diaspora to listen to our pain and share our hopes for our future, as well as express their condemnation of the CCP's genocide and crimes against humanity. Thank you so much.